Being a ghostwriter can be a lot of fun. It's a rewarding profession. And today you're going to learn from one of the best ghostwriters of all time on what it takes to become a successful ghostwriter. Hi, I'm Dan Janal, and welcome to our podcast. I'm a book coach, developmental editor, and ghostwriter. And no matter where you are in the writing process, I can help you write your book. Today, our guest is Michael Levin, one of the most acclaimed ghostwriters in the industry today. He's written literally hundreds of books with celebrities and brand name people, some of whom he can name, some of whom he can't name. And we're going to learn all the ins and outs of the ghostwriting business from Michael today. So, well, let's get started. Welcome, Michael.
Dan, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the warm buildup. I appreciate that.
Michael, why don't you tell us, how did you get started as a ghostwriter?
Ooh, I backed into it. I was a lawyer by training. I sold 3 novels to Simon & Schuster, couldn't sell a fourth, literally was a starving writer. And I started offering private writing classes. I was teaching a little bit at UCLA and NYU, teaching adults in their writing programs. And the classes started to fill, and then people said, coach me. And then they said, why don't you just write it for me? So I literally backed into ghostwriting. And that was, if you add them all up, writing, editing, creating, publishing, a few cases, agenting, I've been involved with over 1,000 books in about 35 years. So that's kind of how it started.
Wow, 1,000 books. That's amazing. How do you manage your time?
That's a great question. I work hard. That's the best way to put it, but I don't work crazy hours. I do all of my calls between 10 and 4 on a weekday. There's one client who is on the West Coast, so we do his calls at 4. And then I'll get up, and after I do my morning stuff, I'll sort of bite into the email and see what's going on for about half an hour, and then get to the gym and whatnot. But I try to wrap up by about 4 o'clock. I work quickly. I work intensely, and I do believe that you can have balance. And I do have a wife and children, so I'm there for them, and I work out a lot and do a lot of sports stuff. So there has to be time for everything. But the core of it is that when I'm working hard, and I think really what it comes down to. Time management is really emotion management. And ultimately, I just have to trust my judgment. And I'm not going to be right all the time, but I make decisions constantly. I'm looking at a deal right now where I underpriced it, and I'm trying to figure out what am I going to do with this. And so after we're done, I'm going to go back into the email with that client or that prospect and try to figure out a solution that'll work for him and for me. And then whatever answer I come up with, that's going to be it. I'm not going to, wait 3 days or something like that, or come back to it. Just going to figure it out, deal with it, and whatever it is, move on, and just keep it moving. Just keep the line moving. That was a long answer, but that's the answer.
Well, that's a great answer. I know you answered a lot of questions that my members of my mastermind group have asked over the many months of what do you do if you underprice a project, or if you have clients who are taking too much time or whatever. So I'm sure they're learning from you as we're going through this. What are some of the challenges you see as a ghostwriter?
Well, the first one is that we're ghosts, so we can't always talk about all the things that we've done. And so what I find is that it's amazing how many clients will let you put their names and the cover of their book on your website and in your marketing materials, but you have to ask. So there's no harm in going to a client, current client, past client, saying, would you give me a blurb? And then get the blurb and then put that up on the site, because your major issue as a ghostwriter is differentiation, is avoiding the commodity trap. What makes you special? How do you stand out? And having social proof in the form of kind words from past clients is incredibly important. I've got tons of blurbs on my site because, I can say anything I want about myself, but when other people say it, it means 1,000 times more. The other issue, the other challenge that ghostwriters have is embarrassment about asking for what they deserve. And the reality is that anything that you do or I do, we find for the most part fairly easy. We've done it over and over. We know how to do it. We might feel as though we were born with those particular skills. It just comes easily. As a result, we discount the value that it has to others. And so we price things in accordance with how easy it is for us instead of how valuable it is to them. So most ghostwriters, including myself for a very long time, tend to underprice themselves. They're afraid of not getting the deal. They're afraid that they won't be liked. But the thing to do is whatever you're charging right now on your next deal, double it and double that fee and add 20% and hold your breath and make the ask, double it and add 20% and just hold your breath and make the ask. And the thing is that you may not get, let's say you lose half the deals that you would have gotten. Well, you're still making more money because on the ones you're getting, you're making 20% more than double, and you only have to do one book for the money. So if you were charging 25,000, then you go to double is 50, 20% more is 55,000. So if you only get one out of two deals, you're getting 55,000 for doing one book instead of 50,000 for doing two. Your time just became much more valuable to yourself and someone else. And the more you do that, the more you ask, the more comfortable you're going to be asking for what you deserve. So it's really hard to ask for what you're worth. I used to call my mentor literally in tears, who's going to pay me $95 an hour? I mean, this is, 1,000 years ago. Today, nobody's paying me $95 an hour because I don't charge by the hour. That's another thing. Don't charge by the hour. Charge by the result. Because they don't know or care how long it takes you to do something. And if it takes you 1 hour or 100 hours, that's your business, not theirs. So never, ever, ever quote by the hour, quote by the result, quote by the value that you're providing your client. I could go on, but I'll stop right there.
Oh, that's fantastic. I know one of our mastermind members, which will be nodding her head in agreement because she is a great believer that we undervalue our superpowers. And that's her buzzword and her keyword, that we do undervalue ourselves. And I've never heard anyone say double and then add more. So I'm sure that's inspirational for everyone listening. So thank you for that. Do you think it's important for a ghostwriter to specialize in certain genres, or can they be jacks of all trades?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the answer is yes to both. I mean, in a broad sense, my practice, and I call it a practice, is because I'm practicing and trying to get better. I don't want to sound full of myself, but that's what it is. It's generalist in the sense that I will take on a positive person with a positive message, whether that's in business, sports, body, mind, spirit, finance, insurance, medicine, consulting, financial services. I won't take on anything that is either negative or technical. I won't take on anything negative because I don't want the bad karma. I don't believe in, that it is a superpower to be able to write in someone else's voice and to listen to someone else and really capture the message. So it would be sinful to use that to do something negative. So I won't. And then and then I don't understand anything technical. I'm not. My wife's an engineer. I'm not. I'm a typist. So I can barely turn my car on, let alone. So I won't do anything that I don't understand. And those are my parameters. At the same time, I do have a specialty in books for financial advisors because I get them. I've done more than 100 books for them. I have a nice reputation in their world, and they're great clients. So, so I have a generalist door that folks come through, and then I have another door for the advisors and the wealth managers and the insurance people, and that seems to work out fine.
Cool. Are there any red flags that you find when you're interviewing prospects? Because, we all want the business and we all want to take the business that comes in the front door. And then we find out, there are some warning signs here that this is not a good client. You've worked with more than 1,000 people. I'm sure you've rejected some. What do you look for? Because you can afford to be choosy.
Yeah. I sometimes tell them I cannot afford to say no to everybody, but I can afford to say no to anybody. I think that's actually true for all of us. A bad client isn't going to make you a small amount of money. A bad client is going to lose you money. It's going to lose you money. You're going to come out poorer financially and emotionally. So if somebody's a jerk on the call, end the call. Just say, hey, something? You're a great guy, but I don't think I think I'm the wrong person for this book. Goodbye. In a nice way. and don't make an enemy, but just get off the phone as fast as you can if they're a jerk. I mean, sometimes my assistant, when we were sharing, an office suite, I'd come in the call and she'd be like, I'm on the phone with she'd like, put on a mute, talking to a prospect, and she'd be like, give me that face, like, forget it. And she'd be like, I'm so sorry, but the timing just isn't okay. So don't even engage. Don't. My mother used to say, and I think she was talking about my girlfriends, that if you lie down with dogs, you wake up with fleas. And so just and I fire clients, not often, 2 or 3 this year. One of them, we just gotten started. It was sort of a rush project, and it was a nice fee. Everything was great. Brilliant guy, very successful. And no matter what I did, he made it wrong. In the first week, the book plan, wrong. The first chapter, I edited, wrong. I woke up in the middle of the night, that Friday night, after just 3 days of work, and I said, not going to happen. So Saturday night, which is when I got back to my email, wrote him a nice note and said, look, this isn't working. I'm going to send you back all your money, and I wish you great success. I didn't try to keep money for what I'd done, and I was courteous, and I hope if he thinks of me, he thinks of me fondly. But I don't care, because at the end of the day, I don't have patience for that. If somebody's basically, if the honeymoon is no good, and that means the sales process, or the negotiation process, or the very beginning of the work process, do you really think the marriage is going to be better? So, yeah, we all want the money, we all need the money, but you don't need the aggravation. I don't know if it's too short or too long, but you don't need it.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's easy to spot someone who's a jerk and just cut that off immediately, but it's a lot harder to see when the working relationship actually starts. And I'm glad you pointed that out, that you can find those clues in the first couple of hours of working with them, or the first meetings, where you're just not jiving on a working relationship. So I think that's a really important point. So Michael, you've been an absolute delightful guest. Loved having you on the show. Tell us, who is your ideal client and how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, sure. Thank you. My website is Michael Levin Writes, Michael Levin Writes is my website. My cell number is 617-543-3747. 617-543-3747. Operators are not standing by my phone. And I pick it up and I'll answer it, and we'll talk. And my ideal client is obviously somebody with a positive person with a positive message. And those are the folks I work with. Those are the folks I love and respect, and those are the folks whose privilege it is for me to carry their message and amplify their message to society.
Great. Thank you for being with us, and thanks everyone for listening. We have more than 200 other episodes on our YouTube channel of Write Your Book in a Flash with Dan Janal. Check them out. Thanks for being here.